You're listening to Track Talk with the RacinBoys, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet in Olathe, or visit them online at McCarthyChevyKC.com.
Yes, that's on hold.
Welcome back. You're listening to the RacinBoys. I'm Kirk, Elliott in Kansas City. Troy Harrison sitting in with us here this morning. And guess who's joining us from way out in California, 2,000 miles from home, and he can't wait to get home. I know so because he told me so last night as I was coming back from Lakeside Speedway. Scott Traylor, how you doing, my friend? You've been away for so long. Troy and I were just talking. We almost forgot what you look like.
Well, I'm sure you guys have forgot what I look like. Yeah, it's
almost forgot. We haven't totally forgot though.
6:45 in the morning out here in the west. So getting ready to travel down the road. We're going to be at Hanford tonight, broadcasting the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. So got that one more night at Santa Maria, California on Sunday. Then everybody jumps in the cars and tries to head back to Knoxville, get back there in about 2.5 days. So ready to get home, though, Kirk. Miss you guys. Miss being on the show every week, doing what we do back there in the studio. So can't wait to get back for sure after about 30 days.
Oh man, Santa Maria is a great little racetrack. I went to the regular weekly show at that track once when I was out there on a business trip. Outstanding place to watch a race.
Well, unfortunately, I guess we'll give the news out right here that I'm not going to be here on Sunday. We're going to head back after tonight's action. Had a crown. We figured out last night, Kirk, that that was a crown that I was eating some chips over at a Mexican restaurant here next door last night, and the crown fell off. So going to need a little dental work before we get up to Knoxville, so I'm going to leave a day early. Brian Hobart's going to be doing the broadcast on Sunday. So unfortunately for me, I'm not going to be able to make it down to Santa Maria, which was looking forward to that, getting a little closer to the ocean. Always like it down there by the ocean. You know, there's nothing like being by the ocean, is there, Troy?
No, and I'll tell you what, that drive up the Pacific Coast Highway, that is incredible. I've taken a couple of trips out that way. A number of years ago, I actually went out there for a job interview and was just 30 miles down the coast from Santa Maria. And of course, you know me, if there's a race around, I'm gonna find my way there, even if it's on a business trip. So I went up to Santa Maria and caught a weekly show, and that track is kind of in a bowl like I-44 Speedway. And that's the closest thing I can come up with to remind me of it. But, man, you can still feel the ocean even when you're sitting in the stands there. It's great.
I know it, and I'm really bummed out I'm not going to be able to make it down there. But, you know, our biggest race of the year next year is, this year is the ASCS Knoxville Nationals. Most people call it 360 Nationals. And it's a big broadcast for us, big production. And Scotty Cook's going to be pit reporting for us down there again. So, want to make sure we can make that. That's real important for us. And after being out here for, I guess, 30 days, ready to get home anyway. But Brian Hobart to do a good job. He's done one-man bands for us before out at Las Cruces, New Mexico, and we've done some races out there. He'll do just fine. So I'm sure they'll survive without me for one race out here.
Wow, that's the last thing that you had in mind, driving all the way home to go sit in a dentist chair. That's I feel for you, my friend.
The thing is that it's just a crown. It's not a regular tooth. I mean, this is something I had some dental work I had done years ago. So hopefully they'll be able to just put another temporary crown on there and send me down the road. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I'm sure that'll be the case. And, quick turnaround. Knoxville coming up next month. We've got the ASCS Nationals next weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the week after that will be the 410 Nationals, the big Knoxville Nationals going on. So it's unbelievable how fast this summer has gone, but it has. But we've been talking about the big race going on in Indianapolis this weekend. The Brickyard 400 will be tomorrow at noon. You can hear it live right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We touched on it just a little bit yesterday with Kevin Keatsman, but I'm not sure I got an out-and-out prediction from you, but how do you think this race is going to play out, and who's going to win it tomorrow?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you got to look at some of the players that were good last year. And, again, like I said, I think yesterday on Kevin's show, This takes a different skill set to be competitive and win at this racetrack. When I say that, you've got to be a cross between a good road racer and a good oval racer at the same time. You've got to be smart enough not to overuse your equipment, overuse your tires, your brakes, because the speeds they carry down these front straightaways, there's quite a bit of brake used to blow the car down, get it through the corner, and then hit the short chute. So there's a lot of things that a driver's got to do, and a thinking driver, I think, is going to be the driver that can make it through and win these races. You look at any of the RCR cars, they were good last year. I mean, let's face it, Jamie McMurray looked like he was going to have a chance to win that race as well, but he was going to have to stop for fuel. So Paul Menard won, but Jeff Gordon was the fastest car on the track, and until I see somebody go a little faster than what Jeff Gordon did last year, because what he make up, he came from like 14th up to second and was running down Paul Menard there with a couple laps to go, nearly running 2 seconds faster. 2 or 3 more laps, Jeff Gordon easily wins that race. So I've got to put my money on the guy that's won it 4 times, and he's desperately needing a win right now. We know that. He's going to have to at least get a couple more wins. And if he can do that and get himself into the chase for the championship, that'll work out for him. But I'm going to put my money on Jeff Gordon for now.
If anybody, and I would agree with that, if anybody has a chance to get back into the chase, like what Tony Stewart did last year, he was on the outside looking in. As late as the Bristol race, he made it in, and guess what? He won the championship. So it can still be done, and Jeff Gordon has run well enough. As much bad luck as he's had all season long, he's running well enough to win races and get himself back into the chase. Now, can he win 3 races over the next 7 when he hadn't won a race all year? Yeah, if his luck turns around, it's possible he could do that because these are a lot of favorable racetracks for him to do that. Is it likely? It's going to be a tall order? Yeah, but I think if anybody could do it, Jeff Gordon could do it. What do you think, George?
I think we're all on the same page. I think Jeff Gordon is, to me, he's the smart money at the Speedway. That's all there is to it. I don't think there's been a brickyard when he's been slow. There's been brickyards where he had bad luck. There's been brickyards where he had fuel trouble. But I am not recalling a Brickyard 400 where he hasn't been at a competitive pace. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Jeff Gordon.
But isn't Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson also equally a smart money?
Yeah, I think there's probably about 4, maybe 5 drivers. I think, Tony, Jimmy, Jeff.
Another driver I think could do well this weekend, Casey Kane.
Casey has been really fast lately. I think we may be seeing something with the Hendrick team right now that we haven't seen ever, and that is having all 4 cars be fast at the same time. I mean, think about it. For all the years that Hendrick has been running multiple teams, they've never had a situation where every team was fast and every team was competitive, but I think they're there right now. And it's kind of an interesting thing to watch. And it could just be, with all due respect to some of the guys that they've had in the past, it could just be that they've got the best driver lineup that they've ever had. And, I think because of that, we're seeing some things at the Hendrick team that we just haven't seen before. When you've got...
Well, we've probably seen it when he was a 2-car team. You look back with Tim Richmond in those days. But you're right. When you talk about 4 teams, when he's been at the maximum amount of teams that he's allowed to run, you're right. There's always, and it's typically been Junior. I mean, let's face it, for the last couple of years, he's been the weak link. Even though he's been, running well, he hasn't really contended for championships since he's been over to Hendrick until this year. So I agree with you 100% there, Troy. And I think we get back to Jeff Gordon. I think Jeff Gordon has a better chance of getting in via the wins than, say, Carl Edwards. Even though Carl might be a little higher in the points, I think when it comes down to who's closer to winning races, Jeff Gordon is the guy. And there's some tracks. We sit here and talk about winning 3 out of 7 races. Jeff Gordon's won at just about every track on the circuit. I'm not sure what tracks he had won, but it's probably only 1 or 2. So he can win at any one of these tracks, and he has been fast enough to win this year. I mean, you think about it, the wreck he had at Martinsville, he's had some motor problems. He's just had a variety of different issues that wasn't that doesn't show really how much speed he had in the car, because his finishes are not reflecting how good he's been at times this year.
I think Homestead's the only track I can remember Jeff Gordon not winning at. Is there another one?
That's a good question. I'm sitting there thinking the same thing, and I'm not remembering any other tracks that Jeff hasn't won at, and he's probably as good of an all-around driver as there is in NASCAR right now. And I'm sorry, it still feels weird to think of Jeff Gordon as a veteran. I still think of Jeff Gordon as the Peach Fuzz Kid, and my God,
20 years later.
Yeah, I know, and of course, I'd still like to think of myself as a Peach Fuzz Kid too, and that ain't working.
Yeah. Hey,
this brings up something Kirk and I talked about. I don't know where we're at on time here, but we were talking about drivers yesterday. Kirk and I had a long discussion about it, and Jeff Gordon was one of the guys that we brought up. Are they motivated, and do they race as hard as they did, say, when he was, that young kid driving for the Rainbow Warriors, the DuPont car? Did they actually, when he has a child, when he has a wife or a couple children now, is he motivated as much as he was back in the day? I think when these guys, they get a little fat and happy, they change a little bit, then they have a wife and a kid. Next thing you know, the production is down a little bit from where it was, say, 10 years ago.
Well, I'll tell you who the most motivated guy on that Hendrick team is right now, and that's a guy driving the 88 car. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he's putting his car in places that he hasn't put his car in a few years.
Very interesting interview that he had with Marty Smith of ESPN yesterday. I'm sure you'll see more of it here. But he said that he'd just show up at the racetrack. When Tony Uri was crew chief in the car, he'd just show up and get in and go.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't worry about it. But Steve Letarte has got him to be focused more in on the race car. And now Dale Jr. can't wait to get to the racetrack. He loves being more involved with the race car and takes a part in the setup of the car. That's pretty revealing about why he's gotten so much better, because we always knew he had talent to drive a car, but he was never involved in the setup of the race car like he is now.
Well, and Letarte won't put up with a lot of his crap either.
Without being said, or that hasn't been said, is that, Dale Jr. has a regular girlfriend now. You see him at the races with her quite a bit. I mean, again, maybe he's starting to settle down and pay attention to things a little bit more than going out and living the party life and being Mr. Budweiser like he was for so many years.
Possibility. Whatever it is, I'm liking it, because I've always liked Junior, and I'm really enjoying watching him.
Can he win the championship? Can Dale Jr. actually win the championship? Can he hold up through the course of the chase and be there at Homestead with a chance to win it all?
I think so.
I agree with Troy. I think he can. It looks like he has a boatload of confidence now with Steve over there being the crew chief, and the communication and everything I hear is that they hang out after. We always hear this about athletes, like on football teams or what have you, hanging out with the other linemen. Say if you're the center, you hang out with the other linemen. Well, we're hearing now that Dale Jr. hangs out with Steve Letarte and the crew a lot more than he did in years past, and I think that's something too, that you've got to look at. Maybe before, when he was out sitting around doing all his appearances and being Mr. Budweiser, sometimes that kind of gets you behind and doesn't allow you the time to bond with your team.
Well, what I've been hearing is that his radio channel has gone from being the most profane in NASCAR to being one of the most fun to listen to.
That is a switch.
Yeah.
That kind of an attitude is different. Hey, before we go, we've got a couple of local notes. Tomorrow night, Sunday night, US 36 Raceway's got a big midget show. It's part of the Power Eye Midgets, and looking forward to that event. The MLRA has got a big weekend going on as well. Last night they were at Humboldt Speedway. Jesse Stovall won the feature down there. They're at Springfield Raceway tonight. I'm heading over to Heartland Park, Topeka tonight for the first time over there for their Saturday night show over there. And of course, they got the Castor Family Celebration going on at I-35 Speedway. So just some of the local action that's going on. Go out, try to weather the heat out there, and take in some local racing. They need you at these local racetracks. Scott, thanks a lot for checking in. Safe travels home, okay?
Okay, guys. Thanks, Troy, for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott. Always have fun and be careful. I hate even driving across town to the dentist.
All right. Good luck. And don't forget tonight, Lucasville ASCS coverage on RacinBoys beginning at about 9 o'clock from Hanford, California. Troy, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Thanks to Todd Surprise, Blake Ulenake back in Sports Radio 810. Stay with us. Exclusive hour number 2 on RacinBoys coming up at 9 o'clock. And we'll see you next Saturday morning right here on RacinBoys, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. Have a good weekend.